Peace. You're now plugged into Super Heru Radio. I am your host, Aseer the Zubateers. My co-host, Melina, the Empress of 10,000 Years, all the human families of the planet Earth. And thank you again for joining us once again. For all of the beautiful mothers out there, inshallah, you guys had a great day yesterday. And inshallah, I would wish that, God willing, all 355 days would be just as good, as that one was, hopefully. And for those who didn't, you're always in our prayers. And again, it can't rain all the time. So we definitely want to give thanks and praise to the Creator for bringing us together once again. And we also want to put out the energy out there for those people and those disagreeable spirits, those people who just can't, get it together. We want to put it out there that maybe one day they will. However, we ain't waiting around for all of that because time is of the essence, as we know. So, as we always do, we start with current events before we take it into the stratosphere and into the stellar. One of the biggest things that is going down now is that Jewish human trafficking ring thing is getting even more and more explicit, which is why they're starting to drown it out of mainstream media news. You're not really hearing about some of the findings that's coming out in that, such as the connection of a couple of these so-called Hasidim groups who were involved in it, specifically a group that they refer to as the Set Mars, who are not really down with, who was really going at it. And for whatever reason, this investigation that the so-called NYPD is doing is going deep into some of the annals of this. And a lot of this, coincidentally, goes back to the time of Gavin Cato. Left for dead. A lot of people have forgotten about him, but he was one of the first, or that I remember growing up, one of the first racial incidents that kind of polarized the riots that took place in the Crown Heights area of Brooklyn many years ago. So with that being said, allegedly Jeffrey Dahmer is supposed to be getting out of jail. You know what I'm saying? Which is crazy, but whatever. And, he specifically was famous for eating and filleting black men and having sex with the bodies after he killed them and decapitated them. So allegedly they're supposed to be hearing his appeal that he may be getting out soon. What else is going on? A lot of different things. Specifically speaking, we just went through that whole phase of supermoons that we were talking about, and that was very, very powerful. That, like I said, coupled with the portal that opened up in the sun back in March, that portal is getting a lot bigger, and depending on what light band or light spectrum you view it in, it will either look more prevalent or less prevalent. It's, I think, better to look at it through a UV lens because the UV will pick up the negative space in it very well. What else is going on? A bunch of different things here. Just want to flood it, you know what I mean? Excuse me. One thing that's interesting is that there was a marijuana bust that took place a couple of days ago, and out of that, a guy named Jacob Greenberg, or Jacob Greenberg, was summarily arrested behind that. Now, for those people who don't know who Jacob Greenberg is a guy named Mark Zuckerberg. Mark Zuckerberg, a.k.a. Mr. Greenberg, is actually the great-great-great-grandson of a man named David Rockefeller. And coincidentally, when you look at the original the original Board of Representatives or whatever that came aboard with the Facebook, I'm not talking about the movie, because the movie was just there to kind of like give like a soft shoe to, you know what I mean, the real story. So being that the real story has already been put in play, you know, people already take the story based upon, you know, what they saw in the movie. So that's how they figure that Facebook got started. When really Facebook was started with about I would say about $600 million of CIA front money coming to this dude through by way of members of the Porcelain Club, which is where the Winklebosses come in. The Winklebosses were the guys that he basically allegedly stole the idea from, but they were the guys who basically hooked them up with the CIA front to get the funding. Now, it's interesting because CIA, you know, it's everywhere, but they give a pre approval rate if you go to certain schools to be down with them. So he basically, you know, got caught up with some weed bust shit, and then it basically came out, you know what I mean, in the process of that when they start, because now, you know, he's public, so they start going through all his records. And this bank basically was founded. It's called the Bank of New England, which allegedly is CIA front that gave him a lot of the initial startup cost of $500 million basically to set it up. Now, this happened after the whole bubble burst out of the whole website or web movement. Remember, it was like everybody was saying, yo, get a website, you make $1 million. He was one of the original people. Father-wise, come from family-wise, who created the initial code for a lot of that stuff. So specifically speaking, Mr. Greenberg is actually Zuckerberg. Now, the interesting thing is that Zuckerberg, Sugar Mountain, you know, because Zucker means sweet, or azúcar, like Spanish, meaning sugar, for sweeten. And then Berg is like a mountain. But Berg, B-U-B-E-R-G, also Berg, B-U-R-G, can translate loosely into Verg or Verge, or like Verg in Virgo. You know what I'm saying? So anywhere that you have a Berg, basically, is also where you have basically an influence of a Virgo type of energy. Right? So all of that going down, it's also no coincidence then that seemingly out of the blue, this dude Bill Gates, like I said, he gets indicted, and now he's walking around with these marshals and stuff and all of that. All of this is great for us because it is basically the precursor to something that was coming down right before 9/11, and that is the mass arrest of all of these illegal, fronting systems that have created, you know, the financial debacle that basically is engulfing the world right now. Another thing that's going down that's going to raise oil prices is the fact that the guy that you're calling the president just entered into an agreement with China that he would set up, that he would allow them to buy oil from them directly from the crude. So essentially this means that they're going to have to raise more money, you understand, to be able to compensate for the amount of oil that will be going out. At the same time, they're keeping a moratorium off of the United States, in a sense, journey its own oil until they figure out what they want to do with this Keystone Pipeline, aka the North American Union. So, specifically speaking, at the pumps, this is going to translate to a higher thing because they're also setting up for this re-invasion, if you will, of Kuwait. Due to the fact that some of the royal family of Kuwait is trying to make deals with some of the Chinese, and you know that's a no-no when you're dealing with the United States, who already is in bed with the Chinese and in the sense in a Cold War with them. You don't really hear them talking about it, but there is a Cold War going down between China and all of that. Just like a couple of days ago, they found these spies out of Russia, these spies in Cuba, and now they want to do a swap where the United States wants to hold on to all of the Cuban prisoners they got, but they're really going hard to try to get their one American spy that the Cubans basically found and bring him back home. So they want their people back, but they don't want to give back the people that they caught. You know what I'm saying? Go figure. So with all of that being said, that's creating more of a tension between the United States and the Soviet Union, just due to the fact of the subsidies that the Soviet Union has been paying Cuba for all of these years. See what I'm saying? But it's starting to build up like I said, in a negative deficit in a sense because, again, the Cuban people, strategically, Cuba is perfect, you know what I mean, as a way to get at the United States. However, the United States is not prepared for a conflict with Cuba based upon all of the stuff that went down back in the days with the Bay of Pigs. You know what I'm saying? So that can't really go down. So what they're trying to do now, if you notice, especially places like Miami, Cuban people, they're recruiting a lot of Cuban people into CIA now, even more so than they was doing during the whole Kennedy killing and the Bay of Pigs thing. They're putting a lot of them in play because they want to get a lot of younger Cuban people involved in taking over the government. You know what I'm saying? The same way they try to do to Batista or whatever. And Castro is the same thing they want to do now. But a lot of this won't go down until Castro is literally in the ground. So a lot of the plans is to get the youth to basically do one of them full march. The same play that they did in the Middle East is what they want to now foster in the so-called South American and American countries, in the sense that they want to create a fall or color revolution to be able to keep a lot of these countries more destabilized, because a lot of the countries that you don't hear about in South America is actually coming up a lot. So every once in a while when they get too big, there's always some type of earthquake or mudslide or something like that that kind of sets back their progress. They've been doing is applying the same thing to Turkey. Just because Turkey has its own Cold War going on against Israel directly, and because the United States is in an alliance with Turkey through the Security Council thing, there's openly but so much it can do. You know what I mean? So the problem with politics, again, is that you cannot serve two masters in it. So when we talk about foreign policy, or the foreign policy of the United States, what we're talking about is a long history of hostile takeover with colonial interest. But if you really do the knowledge, the term colonial and colon, right, mean the same thing. So a colony then, right, is basically a place where they want to weed out what it is they want to take out of the rest of the grand body to basically filter it. You know what I'm saying? So this society, or this present government, has participated in a intelligence-formed war of impropriety towards, quote-unquote, sovereign or individual governments. And they use pretense as a means to come into those governments once they cannot go in. So when Myanmar said that they didn't want the United States in there, that's when, which used to be Burma, that's when they hit them with the 6.5 earthquake. You know what I mean? So any country, like I said, that takes a pseudo-isolationist perspective towards the United States is already deemed as a rogue state. You understand? So that also applies to individuals. Because individuals are now taking the place of individual corporatized or standardized nations. Because in the new feudal system that they're trying to put forth and splitting everything up into districts, the idea is to further politicize or polarize the American populace to the point of extreme separation. So that way they can isolate different pockets of the association or of the so-called country and then basically transfix them into adopting modes that will give energy back to the greater whole. Same way you see movies like The Hunger Games. By the way, those people who check my Facebook page and saw the tweets, the racially charged and angst-filled tweets of all of these racist people who went to go see The Hunger Games and they got upset that there was actually black people in it. We posted them up so you can peep it for yourself. Another interesting thing is that there was a ritual killing at Cornell where a whole fraternity was basically sanctioned and shut down because of the hazing practice that wound up in the result of the death of a person. Another thing that went on recently was that a Georgia policeman tried to arrest an individual, and then in the process of that, when his pregnant woman started asking questions about it, he proceeded to kick her in the stomach. But the interesting thing, even, we know that they savage and that's what they're going to do, but the interesting thing is that the police basically say, yo, it's okay, basically. It's perfectly within the parameters of their job description to kick pregnant women in the stomach. You know what I mean? So again, it just so happens to be that this incident that happened with a black woman, you know what I'm saying, right before Mother's Day. You see what I'm saying? Ritual. And then the disavowing. So the guy is being looked at in criminal charges, the pig, but at the same time, the police are saying that it's okay for them to do that. So pregnant women beware in Atlanta. They're not playing. Another thing that's going down is that if we go back to what I was saying about Bill Gates, and we follow the money trail with him, he is responsible for a group called Gavi, G-A-V-I, another one called Agra, another company known as Monsanto, again, the Rockefeller Foundation, Cargill, right, which is the people who funded the whole Coney thing through the back door. So, again, that's CIA. And then you've got the Global Seed Vault. Now, I don't know if anybody's ever heard about this, but if you didn't, here you go. The Global Seed Vault basically is the sole property of, well, I should say the custodial property of the royal family of England, Britain specifically. And this is basically a cache or like a warehouse or underground facility about 20 miles long that is full of pure seeds from as many different plant organisms and you know what I'm saying, vegetation that exists in our world. And these seeds are under armed guard by a division of not the British Army or the British paramilitary, but instead it is under the jurisdiction specifically of the Knights Malta, as well as the so-called Vatican. So this is where basically they are taking all of these seeds that they have been taking and basically have been protecting them from corruption, meaning being planted. In Agenda 21, when you read some of the protocols of it, it basically goes on to say that any seed, pure seed, that is put in the ground that is not fully protected by the, we'll just call them the powers that be, are basically rogue seeds. And these rogue seeds have to be done away with. So any seed that is not necessarily connected to the royal seed vault basically is seen as an unclean seed. This is also due to the GMO modification that has been going on with all of this through companies like Monsanto, Gavi, Agra, you know what I'm saying, the Global Seed Vault, the World Wildlife Foundation, and everything else. So the ransoming, again, of these seeds is that. Now, the same way that they have that is the same way that they have what they call organ farm, where they are taking the pristine organs of children, adults, or whatever, these wayward youth that you wind up hearing about and seeing in all of these different commercials, you know, the 7 cent a day kids, them type of people. They're taking a lot of those children and refugees and places like that and moving them from different places. And in the process of those moves, because none of these people are really accounted for based upon them not migrating to places where they have no real verification or ancestral connection, they are then taken again through agencies or agencies like the Red Cross or the Red Crescent and are put into basically containment homes or refugee farms where they basically dole out and sell out children or whoever. And this is where a lot of these babies are being chosen by these Hollywood people, and this is the networks that they're getting them from. This is all a form of human trafficking, you understand? Which, again, is another form of slavery. Yet, because it is not, in a sense, referred to it as that, and because the modern view is that, Anglo humans are saving these children, black children, from, the wretched life that they would have amongst their own people. So the question then becomes, to extrapolate this further, if all of these children are being adopted by all of these people, all these different people from all these who happen to be predominantly Caucasian, and they are basically, in a sense, being used as the gateways into the continent for future inhabitation, then what we're talking about really is the expatriation of melanated people out of the quote-unquote melanated race, if you look at melanated people as a race. I mean, we are the race, so in that, it is what it is. But it still goes on to say that there is a definite ability or I should say a definite agenda, again, to disassociate us from our children. So this black pregnant black woman by this racist white police officer, the abundance of all of these quote unquote black children being, put through situations where they are encouraged to express themselves in ways that puts them on the opposite side of themselves, meaning that, they're encouraged to see power in things that are predominantly exploitive to them. You know what I'm saying? And again, because we don't really have any marginal group that monitors this and basically delegates how we should do it. If not parents doing that themselves, like they have like what they call watchdog groups of these concerned white women parents and stuff, the typical ordinary people. We don't have stuff like that. And when we do have stuff like that, we always target it against our own people, like with C. Dolores Tucker tried to blackmail Tupac and Death Row into giving her a record label, trying to pull what Al Sharpton pulled with Kentucky Fried Chicken, which is you get them unless they give you a check. And in the process of that, he got many, many checks, also based upon how many people he wanted leading to be arrested. You know what I'm saying? You get a little head off of that, because that essentially is like a finder's fee, which is why he's always there, or they're always there when things like that go down. Because again, that is a purpose. You know what I mean? I was watching an interview with Professor Griff, and he was basically saying how he ran into Russell and them after the Million Man March or whatever, and they was talking and doing their thing, and he basically kind of led on to like how, messed up things turned out. And Russell looked at him and said, well, if you just would have made another hit record or whatever, it all just would have went away. Meaning that all of the stuff that Griff had went through, all of the blackmailing and the isolation and the death threats and blowing up his house and all this other shit, all of that would have just been gone if you would have just, again, played the game. So this is what I'm saying about these people. It's not about whether or not you like them or what they're doing for our community. Their community is money. So money always hook up with money, no matter what color it is, you know what I'm saying? That's why I can tell you, again, at the head of a lot of these groups, all of these people really working together. And because there's no watchdog situation or groups of people who subscribe to that, these people are running amok. Now, in the, let's say, paperwork front, there's something called the Paperwork Act that was put out, or I should say the Paper Reduction Act. And it basically was enacted to combat people who send paperwork to these people in the form of what they refer to as, frivolous liens. What this basically does is says that if you send them too many documents, they can prosecute you on a federal level. This is what they're trying to flip now. It was it was adopted, I think in 2004. But it recently now has been enacted. So this is also now why this is now becoming more of a thing where they're using the buzz term, sovereign citizens as a means to isolate anybody who's dealing with their so-called nationality. You know what I'm saying? But really, when they talk about sovereign citizens, they're talking about patriots, Tea Party people, you know what I'm saying, militia, them type of people, really. With us, they kind of know what the deal is. However, we're not organized to the level of stability. So they're still using that deficit as a means to get us out there because under their presumption, under their legal presumption, they have assumed that we, if we are saying that this is what we are, should know how to do everything to get back to that status, which is why they don't tell you how to do it. So, on top of that, the UCC is about to go through a major revision, for those that don't know. And it's going to start through the main clearinghouse in the Kentucky branch, in which a lot of the codes, again, are going to be switched. So, whereas it used to be when you used to go to UCC 1-207, or used to go to UCC-103, it would send you to UCC 1-207. It's going to be a whole new UCC thing again to find out where you are to have, in a sense, all rights reserved or without prejudice. So now is an auspicious time or occasion for those people who are dealing with that to be able to put it into the proper context of national character to be able to exercise what it is you're saying. Because, see, they're more apt to break bread or give dough to a foreign nation that, in a sense, is literally foreign, outside of the borders of the territory of the United States, than those domestic foreign, neutral, non-enemy, non-combatants who exist within who exist on the same landmass that the United States exists on. So the adequate response would then be to follow what the National Ministry of Hawaii did, and through the Kingdom of Hawaii, their national ministry just basically took out a UCC-1 for that $100 trillion that, for some reason, everybody's been talking about the past 7 months, that nobody seemed to know where it's at. So coincidentally, the Kingdom of Hawaii, through the National Ministry Trust, put forth a UCC-1 that basically demands for the $100 trillion in the form of repaid reclamation fees back to the kingdom and the royal family. Right? Now, the problem with that is that they have to not only cite the United States, well, it would be an interesting thing to find out, if they also have to cite Japan in that. Because the Japanese basically, through that Pearl Harbor thing, did they whole South Pacific Rim thing with the Hawaiian nation too, and ignored a lot of the treaties that they were supposed to uphold, because technically the Japanese government was really got into the war with the United States because they, over what was going on in Hawaii. because when the United States, in a sense, annexed it, it was still done illegally. You know what I mean? It was still in an illegal fashion because it wasn't really agreed upon by the entire royal family. So here we are again, the same way that was going on in Borican with Vieques. So coincidentally, like I said, at the same time, Geithner now, who I guess received that through the UCC situation, was now responsible on paying that, giving them that money because they're coming in the national character of a kingdom, you understand, with a monarchy and all of that. So under the laws of international finance, you're supposed to balance that due to the divine right of kings that they all follow. Despite all of the backbiting and the killing and all the stuff they be doing, they still have to have a certain semblance of legitimacy in order for them to be able to walk around here and enforce jurisdiction over other people. So because that money had to be siphoned off and taken out, that's basically $100 trillion that's taken off the books. Now, this is at the same time that the stimulus stuff was still going down, and because they put in requisites where they didn't have to say where the money went, the only money that they could use was the money that was declared or is declared by Congress, which is the money from the United States people based upon the credit of the people's word, meaning the bonded word of the people becomes the bonded instrument in which the people are now used as a surety or a mortgaged-backed security that would allow the United States corporation to facilitate the buying and selling of goods in the name of those people. Due to the trust that was set up for them when the country was functioning under the Articles of Confederation, when we were in control. That's why they don't really like that. So because everything that is done internationally with people happens through treaty, declarations then come in as either a acknowledgement or disavowment of the treaty. Therefore, treaties by nature make an agreement international if you look at individuals as nations. So, to extrapolate this further, this would then mean that in order for them to be able to justify where this money went, they would have to come clean and say that they gave this money to Hawaii, which happens to, again, be the birthplace, if you will, of the so-called presidents, who, however they do it with they, bloodletting or blood rituals or whatever, may or may not be related to the same royal family at the same time. So these things, coupled with the imminent collapse of the banking system as a manner of individual commerce, then gets upgraded almost into an international form of commerce, because basically them not having the money to pay back and them using the American people money resulted in treason. And that treason opened up a way for them now to be prosecuted. You see what I'm saying? So because Geithner, again, was party to that, Bill Gates, and the rest of these dudes started happening. This first happened again around 9/11, but then when 9/11 went down, the whole white-collar crime thing took a backseat to the terrorism thing. So now that this whole thing is coming back around again towards the end of December, which again is going to be right around election day where they get this dude back in office, they're going to seek to use that as the let's say, final transition into this new financial system of feudalistic banks. Instead of banks working together in the national branch, they all basically were responsible for their own quota and how much money they make in a sense towards the whole. And if not, they just get taken over, because that now has the precedent for that has been set through the whole stimulus thing. And then, God forbid anything happens, they just use the people's money to then just bail everybody out again. So that mistake or that illogical algorithm is what banking is going to be and has been since. So the whole secured party creditor thing takes a different view now, because you have to look at the U.S. corporation, which is now the straw man, as a not only a transmitting utility, but a disregarded entity, something that is not related to the United States, or the United States cannot recognize in its capacity. So whatever you use it through, you know what I mean, you're still using it almost as an individual, which then creates a limited liability partnership between you and the United States. However, if done through a national ministry or a kingdom or nation per se, it takes on a different context, because now the legal ramifications have now elevated to an international state. The problem is a lot of us is bogged down, and even though you may have more ability to see things change in a state-to-state basis, more so than the federal, because the federal is just straight up. The states are at odds with the federal government. They're basically at war with the federal government. Those states that have not taken over this new form of doing business are being isolated and starved out. You know, so much so that some of these states are then appointed basically feudal dictators to rule over these basic wastelands that they want to turn into factories or whatever anyway. However, this was all in the plan, you know what I'm saying, to remodel and terraform and then turn America back into some sort of half-factory wilderness place. The spiritual ramifications of these things result in the unnecessary application of symbols and literature that is really bound and made to confuse. So if you have a basic formula that has worked, then that is the formula that you should follow. However, just know that, like everything, that formula has to then be adapted to based upon the landmines and obstacles that are placed in the way. Due to the changing nature of their society, due to the fact that their society is not based in fact, it's based on theory. Specifically, the theory of gay science, coined and brought forth by Nietzsche, and then the theory of evolution, as well as the theory of relativity. Theory of evolution through Darwin, who really copied it from Malthus and Hobbes, and then Hobbes, who basically got it from Malthus, and then all of them basically follow Adam Smith, you know what I'm saying, who, quote-unquote, could be Adam Weishaupt at the same time, who some people say is also George Washington, the white guy you see. However, with any of that being relevant at this point is moot. What's more pertinent is how these things play out in terms of our, let's say, separation of our church from their state. However, because there is not one national, let's say, endowed ministry that everybody in a sense rely on, you know what I mean, as one grand central body, we suffer from individualism. Yet, due to the proliferation of all of the nonsensical approaches to this sense, got to be dolo until you find somebody or a couple of people who understand how to do it in a more progressive manner that is not progressive in the so-called modern context. You know what I'm saying? So in a sense, trying to create credit out of nothing with people who have been using that against you for the past 228 years may be a righteous but futile effort. Because if it was standardized like it's supposed to be, then what should happen then is that a system should be set up the same way they set up the system with the unemployment and the food stamps and all that. You basically send your paperwork or whatever the right way, and then after a couple of days you get your card, your black card, the same black card you see these rappers and these people got, and then you do your thing. Instead of, and then, you know, having to always send them a 1040 ES or the W8 Ben or this or that. Those are still always their forms. But on those forms they say that one of the reasons, you got to circle one of the reasons you're doing it. One of the reasons says that you're only doing it because the people who are trying to employ you or whatever are giving you, need something in their records to show that. So by this, the consent that you give to sign it up is you can reserve your rights in it because it's essentially you're only doing this, you're only filling this out for them because they're asking you to. So it's really something that it's like a gift, giving this to them. You know what I'm saying? Filling it out for them like that. But what happens is we get caught up in the commerce aspect of this and not what to overall do. So let's say Abdul get money. Let's say he get his charge back. Let's say Carol get her charge back, and let's say Alfred gets his charge back. Right? If they get this unlimited credit and they only working for themselves, how is that helping all of us when we're all in the same position? It's like when people win the lotto and they just, you know what I'm saying? They just do them and don't hook nobody up. What winds up happening is that they wind up losing it all. Or they wind up getting it and try to hook too many people up. You know what I'm saying? And wind up losing it all. Because it's the ill-gotten gain. That's the thing. It's how you're obtaining it. If we were the ones who essentially were enslaved them first, then technically, by law, they could try to take you as a Moor to court for reparation. The same way you got black Americans trying to take them to court for reparation. But you can't give reparations to a people that you created, essentially. Because remember, slavery, when you read the Constitution, means the forced servitude or enslavement of Caucasian people or Caucasian peoples. African slavery in the Constitution refers to those so-called men and women and children who were caught up in the intermittent conflict wars of the continent that we call Africa and were then put into subjugation, to which they were then put as prisoners of war and sold to merchants to be brought over here to be put under the new class of so-called African slaves. Then Negro slavery, you see what I'm saying, which was abolished which was, well, not really abolished, but which was brought into public dialogue in the 1800s under Lincoln. Negro slavery refers to those original people who was already here, who were caught up and put under the Negro designation due to their lineage and genetic connection to the land and the 13 original tribes of the 48 zones of the so-called Algonquin, Siouan, and Iroquois confederacies, a.k.a. the Continental Congress, a.k.a. the Moroccan Empire, a.k.a. the Moroccan Empire, a.k.a. the Mohawken Empire, a.k.a. the Degandawada, a.k.a. the Dugdamoundia. All of it's the same thing. And that was the slavery that was designated under the Negro, which differed from the African and the so-called slave, because the Negro slavery was specifically done to erase the 500 to 800 years of history that had to be rechanneled by these people, so that way this new industrialized, federalized, so-called corporate United States of Anglo-Saxon Freemasonic Brotherhood would be able to flourish. And if anybody tells you it's different, they're lying. But all of this came about through the dissatisfaction and the disillusionment of us as a people with ourselves due to the predominance of materialism and draconian measures of rule, which resulted in the fall of the Holy Roman Empire, the fall of the Osmanli Empire, the fall of the Andalusian empires, the fall of the Monarchian empires. You understand? All around the same period. It's like the whole world just went crazy. And those that knew had already been ahead of the change. So you figured this out sometime in pre-dynastic Kemet. But because we grow up believing that Kemet was always a desert, because whenever we see pictures of it, they always show you in the desert. That's how they know. In the Ten Commandments, they show you Egypt and it's in the desert at that period. But they don't tell you why. They don't tell you why they was wearing the wig and why all of that came about. Because the true history of everything is wrapped up in what happened to us. And because they want us to be equal and you need to just be like everybody else and not care, they use the birthright against you. That is the story of Yaqub and Esau. In the same Bible that your preacher preaches you every day, he just don't tell you who Yaqub really is or what Yaqub represents. Yaqub spelled backwards is Buckya. You know what I'm saying? But who were the Bucks in history? Why were the Moors or the Normans or the Norman, N-O-I-R, called the Bucks? Because they were the ones who brought the buckwheat, the wheat, the grain, to England and brought forth the agricultural system that was adopted and became part of the traditional form of husband, what they refer to as husbandry. The initial people who fought under Charlemagne were like farmers. And then the people under them were the serfs, the one who actually lived with the animals. The dirty white folk you see in the old King Arthur movie. But because they make everybody in King Arthur movie the same color, it's like boom. But if they didn't, things would be equal. See, the false presumption of imagery is that the way things look now is how they always were. And because the modern attention span of the American individual is always maybe like 3 days, and of that 3 days, maybe 3 hours in that day, and of those 3 hours, maybe 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and of that 15 minutes, maybe like 5. Which is why everything has to be repetitive. Understand? The repetitiveness of the society is what allows the society to function as a whole. So the act of making money is the ritual of making money. So because everybody knows it don't exist, but everybody's willing to die for it, you understand? It's important. So whether you like it or not, or believe it or not, or whatever, it's still something that, in a sense, is again, transmitting utility to be used outside of the system, but to be able to get out of it. Understand? What's the use of hoarding millions and millions of American dollars when you are starting to leave a system in which you have to use that form of currency? The object is to translate all of that into something of a commodity and something that you can rely on. And in relying on that in the future, you see what I'm saying? Because that's the whole reason why they went into Libya. That's the whole reason why they went into Iraq. That's the whole reason why whenever people want to go on the gold standard and the silver standard, it's a problem for them because they can't operate in that realm. They can't operate where people are just paying their debts for gold. So they can't have a country like that in the world where they're not really, you know what I'm saying, in full control. So they're always vying for it. So even though the princes and all these people in Bahrain and all that got all the millions of dollars, and the Arabs is basically like, you know, the white man over there. Because over there they dole out or tool out the Indians, the Filipinos, and the Melanesians as like the Negroes over there. Technically, all of them people came into their country and took their land from them too. You know what I mean? Back when the Indians was calling themselves Hindus. Back when India was Hindustan. So this is around the same time that half of our country was going through a period of high growth, both in Harlem and both in Black Wall Street. And then at the same time in Morocco, at that same time, the consolidation of the empire of what would be El Glawi Pasha was coming into play due to the collapse of the Osmanli Empire to the British, as well as what happened in the Crimean. So these things affect us today in the form of the education that they're giving your children, which is a minor form of Crimean education, what they refer to as kindergarten. This is also referred to and brought forth historically now into the guise of how the children are being taught in a more militaristic fashion, with schools to be fashioned into gladiatorial systems, you know what I'm saying, in which children can know the very obvious rule of law through life and death in the form of, you know, eventually, you know, having some Hunger Games type stuff. So this is already in motion, and you can see that what I'm saying is true based upon what you're seeing these teachers doing in the school. You have the teachers having sex with the children. You have the teachers sponsoring orgies for children. You have the children, you know, initiating each other with satanic ritual and stuff, you know. And then it's played forth in the music and some of the stuff that's put out now, you know what I mean? Whether it's hot or not, it's still, you know, preserving that system instead of preserving, let's say, a voodoo system. Let's say if you want to do it, do like a voodoo thing. You know what I mean? Do a Santeria thing. Do, you know, Santísima Muerte or some sort of, you know, candomblé or something that's on that level of, you know, what Christian or like a black occult thing. You know what I'm saying? More than just adopting this Golden Dawn ideology, which again is just a byproduct of the real. So unless you substitute it, which they not, because I'm seeing these niggas walking around with Aleister Crowley on their shirt. Like, what is a 17, 18-year-old kid, black kid in Harlem, walking around with Crowley on? You know what I mean? Unless you really know about that. And then if so, like what? And then, you know what I'm saying? Like, it just leads to other questions that nobody is really, you know, stepping to it, asking these young brothers, you know what I'm saying, to see where they at with it. Because, again, this Crowleyism, again, gives you an initiation into the higher ballrooms of the decadent, you know, life of that neophyte who goes through the long hall to become the Therion, you know, what they call the Master Therion. Which, again, is just all backwards right rituals of Anubis and references from the Emerald Tablets, all mixed around through Crowley's satanic and sexual symbolism. Due to him being the grandfather of George Bush, the grandfather of, what's her name? His wife? No, his mother. Making then Crowley, George Bush, grandfather. You know what I'm saying? This could be found in a book by a guy named Eric Orion Phillips. I forget the name of the book. Something about the Bush conspiracy of the Bush. Something about the Bush. But his name is Eric Orion Phillips, I believe, and he wrote a really good book with pictures and all of that, with the Scorsese connection and a connection to the Nazi bell that disappeared. And a lot of these things and references that I'm talking about, are in everyday modern, literature when you listen to these people talk. But essentially, it's all really put in as spell work to allow a mysticism to be attributed to something to make it more appealing, which then adds a demonic level that they call glamour to it, which then creates almost like a luster that attracts people who like shiny things. You know what I'm saying? So, these are some of the changes that they're seeking to invoke between now and the time that they go through their transition period, where we get into the galactic plane, where we cross the galactic plane. So, in the meantime, like I said, there'll be, the gas price thing, the racial thing that will get to a climax with the Trayvon thing, because that's kind of died down, if you've noticed. And coincidentally, the sales of a lot of these things kind of reached a certain level now. They haven't peaked like they were a couple of months ago. Skittles and these things, and so that's going down. So look out for that to be stupid. Essentially, they want to turn that into like a reverse Rodney King ritual. You know what I mean? Where they get everybody hyped, and then they get black people to be what white people was with the OJ thing. You know what I'm saying? That's why, in order to get OJ, they had to work from the time that he basically got out. They basically worked like maybe 2 or 3 years. They got rid of Johnny Cochran. They got rid of Kardashian. They got rid of the other guy. Shapiro wound up becoming a pundit. You know what I'm saying? And started to castigate everybody else that was down with it. And the black guy, I forgot his name, he, wrote a book or whatever, but he was never really, vocal about anything that went down with everything. So, show you that the fix was in. And due to that, it comes out. So like I said, everybody comes from somebody. So just like they say Pharrell is Smokey Robinson's son, you know what I mean? It's the same way they say, what's his name is this one's kid. Evan Ross is one of Michael's kids. You know what I'm saying? But in the end, even with genetic proof, like recently I was researching this thing about Lincoln, and it was talking about how he had a deficiency referred to as MEN2B. And MEN2B is a rare defect that afflicts certain people where they get, long arms and, long legs, but kind of like a somewhat medium. Hey, what's up, everybody? So we're back. So this MEN2B gene that afflicted him is found in his descendants. So if Tom Hanks and Elvis are descendants of Abraham Lincoln, or the president himself is a descendant of this individual, if he really had this so-called trait, then that could prove it. You know what I mean? Yet, due to what creates these specific type of rare things is actually comes from the genetic mixture of people who were basically experimented on and then put back into general populace, and by way of marriage and copulation put forth this thing into the gene of a particular family. But because most of these families are particularly chosen amongst themselves, this is how money keeps itself paid, you understand? So again, everybody that come from somewhere, you know what I mean? It's like everybody that's in there usually get in through somebody that's there, but they be together like Snoop Dogg and Ray J and them is cousins by blood. So what it looks like is that up until you become a known being where you are, you know, making some sort of noise in the public mainstream, where then you start getting some type of cheese, they don't really recognize you, you know what I mean? But then once you become recognized, then it's about, you know, how much of the recognition you are willing to accept to get to a higher level, you know what I mean? So if you were the type of person you only care about money, then you'll do great, you understand? Because that's all it is. But in that, it creates a soulless husk of the individual due to the fact that money itself is what it is. The individual who worships it to the point of becoming corrupt does not realize it up until. Yet along the way, they give themselves signs, and other people give them signs that they have deteriorated in that fashion. Thus, that is the story, the Nino Brown story of everybody that came in drugs. So these movies basically come out at a time where they have perfected the experiment to the point that it is now operating upon itself, or subsisting upon itself, which then creates, again, a parallel reality in which now the direction that the individual had prior to that experience or prior to that exposure to that experience has now varied, and now the outcome is what will be born in this reality. You know, there were a lot of things going on in the establishment or the reestablishment of different Anglo individuals in this country, and a lot of them, again, were practicing things that were passed down to them, to their parents, from that first generation or that last generation that was, let's say, formerly enslaved in Europe, who then came over here to, again, be free. But coming as an immigrant, you see what I'm saying, which is another name for slave, made them feel like they were a little better. You see what I'm saying? Whereas you'll see a lot of the stories that take place of those times, you see that in the black neighborhoods, the people who were preying on the people mostly were the police. The so-called criminal element that existed there really didn't exist in a negative way towards the people until, let's say, the death of Bumpy Johnson. And that's when, you know, type of brother just come up and do everything public, spray with the street, and all of that started popping off. That element. But that was also synonymous with the end of the civil rights movement into the drug culture that basically birthed all of us. So, 10:10. Do I have anything else I want to build on? There's another bill you can look up called the Luxury Prisons for the Rich bill. You know what I mean? For those insider traders, they get a real sweet deal where they go to Club Fed to work off their debt, play backgammon, and, you know, go to spas and stuff. So this is allegedly trying to be passed, I think, in Los Angeles, as well as in a couple other states. So you can check it out if it's still on the rolls, because you know how they do. Then, what else is going on? When asked about the zombie attacks, female representatives said that they're imminent. You know what I'm saying? So, you can check that out, see what you think about that. There's going to be a Red Dawn remake to come out. It's basically going to be like some Hunger Games shit, but it's going to be, they're going to try to make it, I think, North Korea. But essentially, it's really supposed to be China. They're gearing you up for the whole, Red Dragon thing. You know what I mean? Also, the smallest black hole was found about 16,000 to about 56,000 light years from here in Vega. And the way, again, you see a black hole is by observing a certain point of space and then seeing if there's a patch of stars that was there that's not there. This negative space that you're looking at is the black hole. You know what I'm saying? So you can't see it, but you see it by seeing what isn't there, essentially. Thereby, it still is an invisible phenomenon, you understand? So that is very interesting due to that corresponds to the giant triangle that was found in the mass center of the sun. But again, I think could be seen better under a UV spectrum. They have different images of it if you go online, I think. You can check that out. But specifically speaking, these are some of the things that's going on with that. Let's go to a call. We'll go to 347, Super Radio.
Hello.
Peace, Queen. How you doing?
Hi, how are you?
I'm well, Queen. How are you?
I'm fine. Peace to you and your family.
Thank
you. I just wanted to say I really love your show, and I really love you guys. I mean, you're one of the realest brothers out here.
Thank you, Queen.
You're welcome, sweetie. First, I wanted to say about the Jeffrey Dahmer thing. I think he was killed in prison. Yeah.
Word?
He was beaten to death.
So
in 94, I think. In a bathroom.
That's crazy, son. That's crazy.
Yep.
You know what that's like? That's like when they put out that what's his name? Nate Dogg was dead, and then they put images out of what's his name? Paul Wall and Warren G. Oh my God.
That would be a tragedy if he was still here and they let him out. Like that would just be too obvious.
Thank you for clearing that up.
No doubt.
Word.
That's just crazy.
Yeah, want to go
on? But I have a question for you.
What's up?
It's crazy. Like for a long time, I've been going back and forth with myself trying to figure out, like, I don't know, how to coexist in this madness. And I've come to no conclusion. I have no answer. And it's like so many people have come and gone in my life. I'm pretty sure you can attest to this because I've heard your show. And, you know, people go back and forth with the madness and just don't want to admit what it really is. Now, it's like I'm just down to one me and my children. I'm just down to just me and my 3 sons. And it's like there's nowhere to run. There's nowhere to hide. And, like, even my fam, they're, like, off.
Yeah. They're conscious, but they're not conscious enough.
Right. But the thing
Yeah.
is, I can't. That's an understatement because they just don't want to come to the realization that this is what it is. Like, they're still on the, we can coexist. You just do what you have to do. You go to school, you get your degree, and this and that. You're just still going back and forth.
Right.
So my question is, like, I already know. Like, I left that alone. I'm not trying to convince anyone of anything. I don't care at this point because it was just driving me up a wall.
Right.
But do you think in the coming years that, and I pretty much know the answer, but I just want to hear it from you. Do you think that in the coming years we'll have any resolution at all?
With the current crop of people?
Yes.
No. What you will have is a expanded dialogue that will now encompass other things like, are these aliens really aliens? Or did this alien invasion really happen? Like the Avengers thing, like I saw that movie. And I had the glasses on. Now the 3D glasses is next level, y'all. But the ones that I used to have, the red and the blue lenses, these things was next level. This thing looked like it was really happening. So there's blue beam technology in that stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So it's very feasible for them to be able to really flip a situation like that, or situation like that. It looked more plausible now than it ever did to me before that these things could probably go down. So the resolution that's going to come, I think, is going to come from those of us who agree that we want to have a self-representative form of government that is electable by a council, you know what I'm saying, or council, that everybody can basically be a part of that ministry trust, and everybody basically be a member of it the way it was back in the Continental Congress. Because under the Continental Congress, everybody, if there was nobody elected, like if there was nobody good enough to say, okay, he's going to be the president, the whole Congress would be the president.
Right.
That says something about the trust of the people amongst themselves and the ability
and there's none.
No.
And rightfully so, when you think about all the time that we've been bamboozled, you know, and so it's just like, what do you, and I live in Crooklyn, New York, so, I mean,
you know what I mean?
It's crazy out here, as you know.
It got wilder now that I've been going, I know.
Right. It's ridiculous.
The elements of it, right? But as crazy as it is, the traditional elements of it still remain the same. You know what I mean? If you know how the game goes, you know how to maintain yourself in that situation.
Right.
You know? So the main thing to know about most people is that you can't really expect anything of them if they're not coming to you from a real nationalistic multinationalistic perspective. But multinationalistic meaning coming from a unified form of thinking amongst themselves. They have the ability to work with those who really want to do it. So even if you are Rasta, or even if you whatever, you know, you can still be a part of this, because we all know that we are the indigenous, the Moancan people of North Central and South America, which basically represents the original people of greater humanity. So we want that, and we agree that black consciousness is what we want for children, then it shouldn't matter how we want to do it. And if we could delegate everybody to a position to do so, that could work. But see, it's a very slippery slope when people give you the ability to lead them, and a lot of these people are not ready.
Right. And most of these fools we haven't even chosen. They just chose us. So, and this is like, it's like I see black people running. It's like when you have roaches in an apartment and you flip the switch on and that roach that's running around is just running around in circles. It doesn't know what to do. And that's how black people are running around right now. Like, people are just fragmented. They don't even want to admit this is what it is. So I'm just like, it's over. And I mean, it's only you and one other brother that is really speaking this realness, like Brother Dawu, for instance. And he said it so many times, like, it has to be complete and total destruction in order to work this out.
He told me, man.
It's like, the more and more I listen to other people. Yeah.
The only way you can do it. But see, to do that means that a lot of people who depend on this thing is not going to be able to work. It's the same thing Kenton tried to do when he told everybody that you could be you are the off type and you can do things in a positive manner for everybody. You
can't even get us to stop shopping on Christmas. Like, you can't even get us to commit to say, you know what, no, I'm not going to spend my money at these venues. You can't, like, it's a wrap.
Nah, it's not, because they're totally been absorbed into the Americana.
Right, their minds are fragmented. They're just...
Yeah, the pop life the Prince spoke about, it's that whole ability to lose yourself in the illusion that you are just this person going to college and you're just this person who, has this nice job and, married this girl y'all both went to high school.
Right. And you lock your door and everything is okay. Everything is everything.
Yeah, and black people used to be slaves, because all of that is the baby brain that they put on us growing up here. So again, that's what they gave the Negro. The African came over here. You see what I'm saying? He don't look at himself as a slave. He looked at himself in a superior position.
Trust me, I know.
Their history.
According
to their history, he is the one that sold you. When really you was a POW, or those of you that came from there like that was a POW. But those people didn't come here until the 1800s. So who was you enslaving in the 1500s?
Right.
These Africans didn't get here till then. And this is what I'm saying. So when they talk about slavery, you see what I'm saying? They're putting this thing into a whole nother context, and they got us identifying with shit that has nothing to do with us, and that's the problem. We don't want to isolate those things and deal with those things and move on. Everybody wants to have this show mentality. You know what I mean?
Right.
Show me how I could do it, show me, put on a show. You know what I'm saying? And that's how it's always been. This is how it was when you see pictures of the movie in Malcolm X, or old pictures of James Vanderbeek, where they got the brother standing in front of the whole images of the black people in the bookstore. And 6 million years ago, when black man walked the earth and all of that. The black people knew about that. That's what they was talking about in that story. You know what I'm saying? So how is it within 30 years they forgot? So now when you talk about it, they make movies about it every day, but when you talk about it going down with them, anything, it's like, oh, nah, that's racist.
But as a human being, I know you've been in a situation where someone just lied to you straight to your face. And you were like, wow, I know you're really going to sit here and lie to me to my face. And this is what our people do. They just don't want to admit, look, I'm afraid, I'm scared. We all are like uptight. You know? I mean, we're going into uncharted waters because we can't do it the same way we did it before. But at least do something.
Right. But in the
do
same
something.
Let's do it.
They don't even want to admit that there's a problem.
Let's all create an association, and then from the association do the confederation, and the confederation create whatever declaration or constitution you want, and then basically elect what type of system it's going to be. A theocratic system would be the best. Wow.
Right.
A theocratic system would be the best, but the opposite. It's the opposite. You know what I'm saying? But a lot of the brothers and sisters don't really see the power of spirituality. You know
it's selective memory, though. I know that they know deep down inside. They just don't want to deal with it. And it's making me miserable because every day it's worse interfacing with these people that are in denial. It bothers me. So it irks me, to say the least.
At this stage in the game, you are basically here as a thought form to remind them of what it is they have chosen to be the opposite of. And it's not your responsibility to do anything for them other than what they can do for themselves. And in the process of that, you're helping them because you being you is allowing them some aspect of grace. And this is what we as original people also don't understand anymore, is that there's something with the pride of us that has made us where we're willing to do anything to keep up with these people who do anything. You understand? Just because that's what they do don't mean that that's what we do.
Right, and they're trying to keep up with us. They're trying to be us every day. It's sickening, though.
That's what I'm saying. At the same time, kill you. At the same time, kill you. And that's the whole reason. So all you got to do, Queen, is maintain a sacred space and make your space that you inhabit as luxurious and as comfortable to you and your children as possible. And that when you create this space for them to go out, you always fortify them with whatever spiritual thing that you can do.
And I do. But it's still, it hurts. I'm not ashamed to say I'm riddled with it. It bothers me day in and day out. And it's like I'm down to one.
Yeah, but at least you got that.
Right.
You know, and that's good. And that means you're doing great. See what I'm saying? The more friends you have, like in the regular sense, the modern sense, the more in debt you'll be. See what I'm saying?
I know, right.
What people call a friend is people who work together. These people don't like each other.
I know.
They don't
frenemies, right.
These people some of these people really hate each other. And that's,
I know.
They're right to do that. You know what I mean? Because that's how people are. But that is what is driving a lot of the rhetoric and stuff that goes on. So, because people like drama, and they like to see other black people go at it. You see what I'm saying? There's a appetite for that in the community that hasn't been purged yet. And until people want to do that, that's cool. But there's like 1,000 people, 10,000 people that feel exactly like you. Exactly.
I know.
So
I know.
in that, you're not alone. You're just not around those people yet. But the time's going to come, you can best believe it's going to come where it's going to be made physical. It's going to be made more real, and we all going to be in a place to be able to do the knowledge to it. And whatever ailment, whatever else is going on is going to have to just be gone, because there's going to be work to do in terms of what the kingdom or what the new thing is going to be. But when I say kingdom, I'm not talking about some earthly shit. I'm talking about something that I can't even really describe to you, because if I do, I'm limiting what it could be. So I'm just going to only call it in the sense that, but whatever you see it as is probably what I see it as. You know what I mean?
Right.
What it usually is. So that is a reality that has to exist. It has to exist because we all see it. Therefore, it's real. Therefore, it's here. Therefore, we have to catch up to the point physically, because physical reality moves slower than spiritual reality. So we have to be physical, non-physical, you know what I mean, to flip it. So when you feel yourself getting more down, you know what you do? You turn on the radio or whatever, and you know,
I do.
Or whatever. Dance around. You know what I mean? Dance around. Raise the energy of everything. You know what I mean? And use that organ to then create something, whether it's cooking or, you know what I mean, or writing or whatever, or teaching them something or whatever.
And I homeschool my children, so I do these things. And this is the thing, you have inspired me to do so much, and I haven't always been on this track. Because I was walking around like everybody else, like in oblivion, like I don't, you know.
Yeah,
and to go from that to taking my children out of school and homeschooling them and doing what I do, I do these things, but I still, you know.
Yeah.
I just felt like it wasn't enough.
No, don't ever think that, because that's something that they put on black women specifically in this country. They put on that you always got to give everything you have to somebody else. You have to have something for yourself, man. That's something that you can have it, then it's not going to work. So you are just as important as everyone else. Instead of black women trying to always take the credit for holding down the family and being the one with the family, like, you have to allow the family to nurture you too. You can't
That's right.
What the hell you are giving them, because that's greedy. They being greedy. If you are constantly giving children something and they constantly being on some more and more and more and they not, that's greed. So you got to be able to get that in the blood early. So even if they turn out later in life to be, you know what I mean, greedy investment bankers or whatever, at least you don't have the guilt of, damn, well, maybe that time when he was asking for so much, I should have said no. No, I said no. So whatever you do, nigga, or shorty, you know what I'm saying? It's going to be on you. That's going to be on you. I'm free of that. Because, one, you know what I'm saying? I know that I know what I told you. I know what I showed you, and I know what I strive to reinforce. And that's all you, anybody else can really do. So whatever issues that they want to try to bring, if you know that you give your 100% every day, ain't nobody can tell you nothing. Ain't nobody can tell you nothing about them raising them 3 kids. Really, nobody. Unless they're there with money, paying, helping you with your kids, they can't tell you that. So criticism, you know what I mean, is one thing. But if criticism comes with no help, that's a problem.
And I get that all the time, right?
Right, because they're jealous. You got to understand, most black women are under an illusion, just like most black men are.
Right.
They have the illusion that they can't be together, so they only see the flaws in each other. So anything that you try to uplift yourself in a more natural, positive fashion, your sisters will see that as a threat.
My brothers have seen it as a threat too, and that threw me off because I thought men didn't necessarily have a propensity for that. And
they didn't used to.
Right, but it's a new day. I know.
It's just new day.
I know.
He's on some all other data. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You gotta be careful. But essentially, you gotta always maintain what you do. So long as when you feel yourself getting to a point where you feel like, oh wow, I'm depressed, that's when you gotta do something to almost shake the soul into a frenzy, so that way it can jar itself back into realizing how wonderful it is, the fact that you still have yours, and the fact that you can still, you know what I mean, be free enough to do what you want to do. Because as black as this place is, it still works for now. So Data is allowing it to do that in order for us to get to a point to have dialogue or whatever like this. So that way, God forbid, whatever happened, the dialogue was already put out there. You know what I mean?
Right.
Nobody can say that you didn't say this, and vice versa. So there is again, community that we have created in this space, aside from what has been going on out there that everybody else can participate in, but a lot of people act like they don't really mess with. And that shows you the relevancy of what we have created here.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's what niggas don't talk about is what you got to listen to sometimes. So he may talk about Jesuit, but he don't talk about the Jew. He may talk about
Never. That's a fear. That's a great no-no. That's one of the greatest no-nos of today. You don't say that.
He don't talk about the Masons. He don't talk about the Rosicrucians. He don't talk about these individual people, who these individual people are. And some people talk about them in an ambiguous, euphemistic way that doesn't really identify who the original people are. So when I say, okay, Marshall Mathers is the descendant of Edwin, of McGregor Mathers, the guy who founded the Golden Dawn, you can see what the deal is. I got the book called Mystic, what is this? Places or whatever, Time Life. This is when they used to make all these Time Life books revealing all these secrets when nobody knew this occult shit. So I'm looking at this book, I'm looking at a picture, and I'm looking at Eminem. This is what it is. You know what I'm saying? And it explains why. You know what I'm saying? It explains why I'm seeing Crowley on a ASAP Rocky shirt. You know what I'm saying? I'm understanding. These niggas is growing up. They gearing these niggas up in a certain sequestered way and putting them through these rituals, through this so-called.
And we're thinking it's just the government or the hierarchy, and it's not. It's all of it.
It's all of it. The government, the Satan shit is really. They don't really believe in that. I mean, some of them do, but a lot of them
entertainment, technology, all of that is government too, but we don't equate that as being, the same thing, but it is. And that's what we have to open our eyes to.
But see, that's what I'm saying. Like, they don't really believe it. And even when these brothers are doing it, like, even if they really like, yo, this is what it is, it's still a position of you are opening yourself up to eventually become a vagina to the order. Because this is
right.
one of the reason they think. So they don't really know all of that yet. So they just, you know what I mean, at the low level. So there's still time. You see what I'm saying? That's why we can't write a lot of these brothers off and shit. Like, there's still time for some of them to be able to see the light. But they got to do it and then initiate some sort of contact with people like you, people like me, people like whoever else is listening, and be like, yo, I need the real because, you know what I mean, I'm in right now. And this is the system, again, that we don't have anymore because, again, it's based upon a fraternity now and that you got to get the hook up to somebody that's already been in. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
That creates, again, the same elitism amongst these black people that, you know what I mean, you see in movies like Let's Do It Again and Saturday Nights and that type of stuff, that whole interface between the Masons, the preachers, and the gangsters. See what I'm saying? Like, they was putting niggas on the game back then, man.
Right.
No. And
but
today,
a lot of people that's in are afraid because there's a big homosexual agenda in corporate America, and I mean, big time. They're taking over the school system. They're taking, from every aspect.
I'm turning them into gladiatorial places. Like, this is what this whole blueprint is, man. You gotta get your kids up out of there, man. You can't get
right, and I took them out, and it's like every job, everything is being is being broken down into everything is the government. If you need a job, if you get a job, it's a government job. So it's like you have homosexuals and Jews at the pinnacle of everything. I mean, it was on News 12 the other day. This lady, this Jewish woman, and she said, well, I applied to Brooklyn College. She wanted some type of job there as a hierarchy, of course, and some high position. And they wouldn't give it to her. She applied for the job for 5 years, and they wouldn't give it to her. So she ran to the ADL and said, they're not hiring me because I'm a Jew. Who's going to apply for the same job for 5 years in a row? You have an agenda, and people have, Brooklyn College, they want to be at the top of everything.
Oh, heavens, son. They got a recruiting desk downstairs, son. I mean, they hard up. They're hard at Mega Evers, too. They're hard at any national black colleges because, again, all of them used to get money through the NAACP and NAACP by JDL. And this is what it is. This is how it's always been. This is why they still call themselves the Negro Association for colored people. What the hell what is that? Remember, the Negro. So, again, you're trying to advance Negroes and colored people. You're not trying to advance more. You're not trying to advance melanated people. You're not trying to advance the people born in the image of the Creator.
Right.
What the Negro is. I know what a Negro is, a U.S. corporation.
And I had dealings with them, and most of them are just a bunch of fair-skinned, Negroidian, racist, black elitist type,
Name is
they're black elitists. They're not, we're the troublemakers.
Yeah.
They want rid of us, too, so it's crazy.
Like that. You can't be in places like that. You just got to keep doing what you're doing, man. Good, man. You know? But anytime, you could always email me at houseofl@hotmail.com. Always around.
I definitely will. And it was an honor talking with you. And peace and love to you and your family. I really do love y'all. You're the best.
Thank you, Queen. Thank you, Queen.
You're welcome, sweetie.
And thank you.
Peace.
I will be. 734, you want to Super Radio?
Peace, God.
Peace. How you doing, Mo?
Peace. I'm just listening in, man. I appreciate what you're doing, man. I really do.
Thank you, family. I appreciate it, man. Thanks for the support. Thanks for calling in.
Yeah, that's all I wanted to say. Oh, I got a question for you. For donations, how can I donate to you and your family?
Thank you, brother. I appreciate that. You could go to PayPal at the ad fund section, and you could type in Duke of Tears at gmail.com. That's DUKE HouseOfTiers@gmail.com. And
okay.
like that. Or you can email me directly at House of L, and I can send you the mailing information if that's more convenient. I appreciate it, though, bro.
All right. Well, I'm going to hit y'all up on PayPal, man, because this is what Spirit is telling me to do. So keep doing what you're doing, God.
Thank you, family. Be well.
You too.
321 on Super Heru Radio.
Yeah, hello. How you doing,
Peace. What's up, King?
How's everything, King?
I'm well, man. How you doing?
Good, brother. Yeah. I was noticing, I was doing knowledge news today, and I found out that they found $20 billion worth of gold in Haiti. Did you hear about that?
Yeah. Yeah, I did hear that. But I didn't get it substantiated, so I wasn't know if it was, like, really true or not. So, wow, I'm glad that it is. That makes a lot of sense. That's the way the earth, the question is, how far does this go from the earthquake?
Repeat that?
Question is, how far is the gold that's found from where the earthquake hit?
I forgot, but it's around, I think it's around those same areas.
Same area, right? Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
The interesting thing is that there's a book called The Gilded Prince, and it's about Toussaint Louverture, and it talks about that before he was capturing all of that, he buried huge caches of gold all throughout Haiti, all of this French gold that he had seized from Napoleon and them, because he was also an admiral, you know what I mean? So they had ships and all of that at one point. Haiti was really on point, man. Haiti was really on point. And eventually, the legend goes that they hated Haiti so much that the word hate came from Haiti. Because the name of Haiti is Haiti. You know what I'm saying?
Damn.
So
that's hatred right there.
You know what I mean? So it makes sense. You know what I mean? Why they doing shit. So now all they gotta do is quit Bill Clinton and keep his grubby ass hands off of it, and they'd be able to be good. They could just hire one of these Jewish companies to come in there and just build up everything. Because, see, in my view, I see a lot of these third world countries that's all bombed out now. All of these countries really becoming, like, really affluent, almost like paradises in the future, man. More so than just being more bombed out like they put in the movies. I see more of the Western society shit being all messed up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
I was when I saw that, I was like, whoa. You know what I'm saying? So, but do you think they'll be able to, like, eventually we won't hear about it? They'll be able to steal it? What do you think about it?
Nah, I think they'll probably use the bagman, one of their bagmen, Matt Damon or Wyclef, or one of these assholes to come in here and, you know what I mean? Or worse, have some type of benefit concert and wild cops and all that going on to get a team in there and get the goal out. You know what I mean? Yeah. Because remember when they was stealing all them Haitian children and they finally caught them white people at the border?
Yeah.
Them white people was a part of a Mormon church. Mormons were responsible for a slaughter of what they refer to as homesteaders or Puritans and the establishment of the Mormon church and all that, in which they made deals with the natives to kill all of these white people to be able to be the only white people in the area. So in the process that the Mormons started a thing about trying to understand bloodline and tie themselves into the natural bloodline of this hemisphere. So they encoded a lot of the Moorish dialect in the form of codes like Moroni as the god that Joseph Smith or whoever got the knowledge from, which is really a code for Moors on high, which is also Moors of Adonai, meaning Moors from the Canaanite line of Hebrews or, tribe of Ishmael, which is Israel. So in the process of this, they've now influxed themselves with a whole form of Satanistic programming, through Freemasonry. Scottish Rite specifically, that allows them to use genetic programming to try to alter or take out traits of, let's say, that you may not like or whatever, and try to isolate them. And then through the process of a religion, you get programs who believe that this thing is taken out of you. So they believe that black people are mud people who came from the mud, which is not altogether necessarily untrue in a symbolic sense. But because they are Caucasian people putting themselves in a superior position, you see, it becomes a inferiority complex being spread through religion, through weak-minded Negroes. You know what I'm saying? Same way you have like Isaac Hayes being a Scientologist, you know what I mean? And then mysteriously dying. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I thank you for that call, brother, and putting us on to that.
Yeah, definitely.
I appreciate it. Be well and be strong where you at, man. You can always hit me up at houseofl@hotmail.com.
Definitely.
Peace, man.
Peace, man.
Seven 757 on Super Heru Radio.
Peace.
Peace.
Good to speak to you, brother. How's everything done? Hello?
Yeah, I can hear you. How are you?
Fine. Can't really complain. Haven't called in a while, but, it's good to hear that you're still doing what you're doing. It is very important, and you are a source of inspiration for a lot of us.
Thank you, Queen. I appreciate that.
You're welcome. I don't really have much to add on, but, we're all where we are, trying to still hang in there, play both sides, and really do the self-work and also still be, a concept that you talked about a while ago, this 50% physical, 50% spiritual maintenance, that it's very kind of a constant uphill battle to achieve, but it's so worth it. It really is. When I reflect on things, it's the self-knowledge, the pursuit of that, and the mastery, that place that, I can envision, and just the very deep understanding that there's so much more to it than this level of things, and everything comes to pass. So it kind of keeps me grounded. I really, really, really appreciate what you do, like so many others. We're all, kindred spirits. I really was resonating with what you were talking to the sister about, because I think we can all relate to these different levels where you want to share it with everyone, you want to put everybody on, and then people want to hate on you, and it hurts you, and then you have to separate yourself, and you get to a place where you realize that maybe the most powerful thing you can do is really just be an example of what it is that you believe in, so that when others see you, no convincing, no trying to tell other people. And
that's all you can do. That's all you can really do. You know what it is too, Queen, to add on to what you're saying? When we decided we were going to be conscious, we as individuals decided that we were going to be conscious and gain knowledge of self.
Right.
So knowledge of self means knowledge of you. It's not necessarily knowledge of all the people you come in contact with. It's the knowledge that they're providing you to understand yourself more. So the more understanding you get of yourself, the less people are going to be around you, because you are reaching a level of what you set out to get. Now, if you say, from this point, I want this knowledge now to bring about let's say, a association that is going to lead to a confederation, that's going to lead to a specific thing that's going to be surmounted, and we can create an institution in this world and the next. Then that becomes what the reality bends to create for you, because that is what you have now intended to do. A lot of us get isolated and don't realize that the more we do the knowledge to yourself, if that's all you're doing with it, again, then you're going to get that, but that's all you're going to get from that.
Right.
If you then apply that knowledge to saying, okay, I'm going to enter and come in contact with people, like-minded people who are really real about this thing, not like I am, but as real as they can be about in this, then we can do it. If we can do that, then it'll work. But not everybody's willing to do that. So
be there, right?
This only applies to those people who are willing to do that, and that should be cool. But see, with black, they be like, yo, do you, and then you do you and be successful, and then it'd be like, oh, well, how come you're not including me? But it's like,
right.
When I stepped to you in the beginning,
always
you
something,
like, it's whack. So now I'm telling you, you're like, nah, you know what I'm saying? You should have put me on. And then, you know,
right.
whole backlash of things that lead to the actual destruction of the Confederation. So to preserve that, this can only be for those of us who really want that.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep, I do.
And that's, to me, that should be enough. That should be like, okay, that's great. And in that means then that once ordered and put in that position, we have to be put in a position to be able to have dominion over something, because we have now proven ourselves ready by right and law and jurisprudence to elect. And in that, then that means that all the things that we need to do that have to be given to us, based upon us understanding the law of duality, attraction, polarity. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Do you?
Right.
Because you're following this Bible so meticulously with your rituals and all of that, free. In that Bible, it says that there's going to be a place that's apart from you that is going to exist. It's going to be a paradise for those people that really want it. And then you are going to have the little thing that you're having. So if you're following all of that, then you got to make this happen for me. Or you got to allow this to happen and not hate. So therefore, these people are really not our problem. They're not our problem.
Yeah.
We are our problem. It's us. You know what I'm saying? To
That's
me,
difficult
it's
for a lot of people to grasp because,
us, man.
Yeah.
I've been attributed to it. You have been attributed to it. We have all attributed to some sort of asinine behavior when it comes to getting together as original people. So we can agree that happened, then we can move on. And we can move on and we can actually do something that doesn't necessarily require a bunch of guns and rocket launchers and stuff to make this happen.
Okay.
A bloodless coup is totally operable right now, based upon the fact that there really is no government.
Mm-hmm.
He's not the president of the United States. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's not what this guy is. That's not what he is. He's the administrative president of the agency of the presidency of the United States of America.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Who is that? What is that?
Right, what is that?
It's whatever you say it is. It's whatever you know what I'm saying? Whatever you got a piece of paper for him to say it is, that's what it is. So if that's the game that they playing, let them play that game and don't create situations where you are coming at them from an individual basis that's not necessarily backed by a unified situation. We can't even decide what flag we like.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not hating. I'm just saying, man. Let's just
let's be real about it. Yeah.
More together than we really do.
Yeah.
Because we really don't. You know what I'm saying? We really don't.
And maybe that means, as you have said, that we shouldn't be. You know, maybe there's another way to do it.
Yeah, they got to be. I can't keep doing lectures and selling DVDs. I got to be able to put this into something that's going to be viable, that everybody can be like, wow, this is. So the vehicle that I'm choosing to use is, novels, video games, entertainment, music. That's what I'm going to do. Because I'm not going to, because niggas is not ready to pick up no guns and really make something happen. So I'm not going to do that by myself. I'm not going to put myself, my family, my audience in jeopardy by lying myself with somebody.
How long did it take you to conceptualize the idea? And who knows? I mean, I don't know who's on the phone.
Yeah, people have already done that. We've already had some of our very strong leaders go out like that because the people were not behind them because they were vibrating on a frequency that, they couldn't catch up to. So we don't need any more of that,
You can't talk down to people. We can't make this happen by you saying that because you're, 5% that you're better and you're more informed.
Right.
And you may be on a certain spiritual, symbolic level. That's no problem. But when it comes to this, for Moan consulate, nigga, when it comes to this, who is the pig going to call on the phone when they stop you and ask you if you're down with this embassy or not? Who is the private attorney general of our nation that's going to go down and get you and bond you out of jail and then accept everything for value people? Where's the institution that has that going? One Science Temple ain't got that. The Holy Church or whatever, the Nation Islam ain't got that. The Western ain't got that. The Israelites ain't got that. The Semites ain't got that. RBGs ain't got that. They used to. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Move, that was it. Once they pull out the jets and bomb moves, bless the dead, those people passing that in Philadelphia, they still ain't resolved that. Nobody still done brought no attention to that. The fact that the United States pulled out F-16s and bombed the whole city block to get rid of black people who didn't want to move out their house. What kind of shit is that? Yeah. So then when I say that they bombed the levels of Katrina, it's like, of course they feel they could do that. Of course they feel they could blow the levees with that. Because they did it in the 60s.
Look at the track record, exactly, yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So whose fault is that? That's not our fault. They at war. They doing what they supposed to do.
Exactly. But are we, the gods?
We relying on them in the war against us. How that work? How are we relying on the enemy to protect us in the war we in against him? How does that shit work? How that work?
Total disillusionment.
You know what I'm saying? That's why when these niggas get together and they turn it into like a minstrel show and all that, like I like
right. You don't even give it
I like fine, man. Not to make this shit a joke, not to make this shit comfortable for niggas. This shit ain't comfortable. You ain't supposed to hear this and be like, oh wow, that's cool, and not get some type of fire to want to do something.
Exactly.
Come on, man. That's why I'm like, nah, I got to do something else.
Yeah.
You're creative. You doing whatever you're doing in your life. You're doing it. So you don't have to tell these people nothing. Let these people come and ask you. Because they're coming to you and asking you anyway.
Figure it out. That's right.
They ask you anyway. Hey, what about this in the Bible?
You.
Hey, what about this I heard?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But then when you was kicking it to them, when you was telling them the same shit they asked you about.
Can't hear you. Can't hear you.
They was like, that shit is bullshit.
Yeah.
But then they see it on the History Channel, then it's like, they see
right.
Childress or one of these niggas say it, and so it's all gospel now.
Yeah.
You were right.
It's all right. It's all right. Yeah, right.
You know, so
it's an uncomfortable position, but we will get there. I know that, and I know that we all know that. So
it is.
That's
why
good
I'm glad
to have
you
a space
call in
like this to come to. Exactly. Yeah. Definitely appreciate it, and I will be giving back as soon as I can, as soon as I'm in a position to do so, no doubt. I know.
And we'll be in, man. Thank you for the support, and bless you and your family, and you know what I mean. Stay strong. If you ever need whatever, just holler at us at houseofl@hotmail.com, and we'll definitely build it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So with that,
I already have touched base with you a couple of times, and I will in the future. Peace.
Thank you, Queen. Peace. So anybody, sorry. So anybody wants to holler at us at houseofl@hotmail.com, please do so. About any of our products, you can check out at www.aseerthesupertears.com. You can also check out cookingmorewithless.com, www.cookingmorewithless.
It doesn't work tonight with www.cookingmore. It'll work with cookingmorewithless.com without the www. It's weird. I gotta ask my brother to fix it, but it's cookingmorewithless.com and www.blackmambaworkouts, MOMBAworkouts.com.
Indeed. Holler at that. Also check out www.sagasar.com. Also, we're going to have an announcement about an event going on coming up soon that we're really excited about. So thank you. And blessings for all of those who are friends and foes. And inshallah, we can always be the rise of the most, It's just coming. So with that, it's here, you know. So with that, again, holler black at me. Let me know what's up. Those people in the Wednesday class, thank you. Those people want to join our Wednesday class online, 9 o'clock Wednesday night, let me know. houseofl.com, and we'll get it in. So with that, we say peace.